A messenger came to Hamlet and said in private that Queen wished to speak to him at once. Kind Claudius had persuaded the Queen to send for Hamlet and wanted to find out how much Hamlet knew about the murder of his father. In great distress, Claudius knelt down and tried to pray for his forgiveness. Hamlet, who was on his way to his mother's room, saw Claudius kneeling there. Even having a chance of killing him, Hamlet did not and quietly passed by. There the Queen was waiting inside her room for Hamlet, her son. She hides Polonius behind the curtains as he would be her witness. When Hamlet came in, the Queen began, "Hamlet, you have deeply offended your father." Hamlet then said, "Oh, mother. You have deeply offended my father." In the excited state, he was about to kill his mother but remembered the order of father and left her. All the same, he wanted to make her confess her guilt. He would show her how evil she was and then leave her to the torment of her conscience. Seizing his mother's wrist, Hamlet makes her sit down. The Queen, in the frightened state, cried out, "What? Will you murder your mother? Help! Help!" Polonius, hidden behind the curtain, thought that Hamlet was going to kill her and should for help in supporting her. Thinking it was King, Hamlet drew his sword, ran it through the curtain, and through the body of Polonius as well. Polonius died instantly. The Queen cried, "Oh! What a rash and bloody deed are this!" Then Hamlet replied, "Yes, it is almost like killing a king and marrying his brother." Pointing out to the portraits of his father, Hamlet cried, "Look at my father's picture, a noble and just man." Then he pointed out to another picture and said, "Here you see a liar, a villain, and a murderer. How could you be so blind as not to see the difference? Are you not ashamed?" The Queen was filled with shame. "Stop," she begged, for she could bear no more. Almost fainting, she sank into a chair. At the moment, the ghost of old King Hamlet again appeared to Hamlet and said, "Have pity on her. Leave her now. But, do not pity Claudius. Take your revenge on him. Remember," and then vanished. Now knowing all this, King wants to get rid of Hamlet. But, he knows that people are very fond of the young prince. He sent Hamlet to England along with 2 courtiers, stating he was sailing on state business. But, the 2 courtiers were given a letter for the King of England in which Claudius asked King of England to put Hamlet to death as soon as he arrived. On board the shop, Hamlet found the letter and opened it and read without the knowledge of the courtiers. Then he rubbed out his own name in the letter and wrote the names of the 2 courtiers and sealed it and put it back from where he picked it. The next day the ship was attacked by pirates. They seized Hamlet and carried him with them. The courtiers went on their way to England. Hamlet was landed by pirates on the coast of Denmark, not far from the royal castle. From there, Hamlet wrote to Horatio, begging him to come to as he could. Horatio came and learned of Hamlet's adventure and the treachery of the king. On the way to their homewards to the castle, Hamlet and Horatio came to the churchyard. Here they stopped to speak to 2 men who were digging a grave. While they were talking to the gravediggers, a funeral procession entered the churchyard. It was led by the king and queen, and among the mourners was Laertes, the brother of Ophelia. Hamlet and his companion hid themselves behind a gravestone and listened to the funeral service. They wondered whose it was. They heard the priest say that he could not read the regular funeral service as the women committed suicide. Laertes then said, "I tell you, she will be singing in heaven while you are howling in hell." Then the queen scattered flowers over the coffin, saying, "I hope to give you flowers for your wedding. Never did I think to scatter them over your grave, sweet Ophelia." In grief, Hamlet said, "It was Ophelia who was dead. Killed herself, Ophelia. Ophelia." Hamlet thought she killed herself because of him and his strange behavior and her father's murder. Then Laertes, wild with sorrow, leapt into his sister's grave. Jumped in after him. Laertes, who blamed Hamlet for 2 deaths, seized his enemy by the throat. And there, in the grave, the 2 men fought fiercely till they were separated by the others. Hamlet shouted wildly, 45,000 brothers could never love Ophelia as much as I did. He wept bitter tears as Horatio led him away.